You should stop using aberrations in your D&D campaign, because such alien monsters should not be able to exist within the bounds of your world's reality. But also, are clumps of googly eyes really that challenging for your players? What is it about aberrant horrors that actually makes them frightening? Well, my name is Ben Byrne, and this is how to make aberrations formidable in your dark fantasy D&D campaign. Genuinely, you should stop using aberrations, because it's not the tentacles or the eyeballs that make cosmic horrors frightening. It's the mystery of something unknown unfolding to reveal something terrifying. It's why Lovecraftian protagonists are often called investigators. Stories about aberrations should begin with a mystery or a conspiracy which slowly transforms into a nightmare while some incomprehensible truth is being revealed. For example, in the Junji Ito story Uzumaki, a small town has odd experiences with spiral shapes. This is seemingly innocuous at first. Flowing water and drifting clouds seem to unnaturally swirl into spirals. Some folk in the town are obsessed with or paranoid of spirals, and how the spiral manifests becomes more and more grotesque as the story unfolds. A man who collects spiral objects contorts his body into a spiral inside a barrel. A woman's face collapses into a spiral, consuming her eyes and eventually all of her. The implication is that the town is cursed, or perhaps the spiral is an aberration, a monster our brains can only interpret as a spiral shape, twisting the laws of physics. And the inability to understand the spiral is what makes it frightening. The grotesque and random ways it manifests makes it seem inescapable and incomprehensible to fight. Incomprehension breeds paranoia. Is that a new scar you have, or the tiny beginnings of a spiral? This paranoid anxiety is also present in John Carpenter's The Thing. The Thing isn't just scary because it's gruesome and unlike any monster you've ever seen before it, but also because it can take the shape of anyone. It could be anywhere, not just lurking in the shadows, but it could be right next to you. In fact, maybe you are the Thing and don't even realize it. If you throw away the mystery of an aberration by using these monsters for random encounters, they'll never truly seem formidable to your players because they'll feel familiar and safe. Monsters stop feeling otherworldly if they frequently appear in your world. Of course, grotesque appendages, countless eyes, and flailing flesh are all hallmarks of aberrations. Body horror is part of what makes them frightening, but it's important to understand why body horror makes people squeamish if you want to use it effectively. It's not enough to describe a gibbering mouther as an amorphous mess of eyes and mouths. The image in the monster manual is honestly almost cartoonish. It's too alien. Body horror should still resemble the human body, dissected and reshaped in gruesome ways. John Carpenter's The Thing isn't frightening just because of the slime and the spider legs. It's because of the parts of the monster that still look vaguely human. The human-like face on the end of the slug-like body. It makes you wonder whether the Thing impersonates people, or does it transform you into itself, make you part of it? Similar questions are raised in season 3 of Stranger Things, where the physical manifestation of the Mind Flayer infects people into doing its bidding. Later, each person infected by the Mind Flayer dissolves in a really disturbing scene where their meat and bones are absorbed into the creature's mass, like clay reshaping itself. At what point did those people cease to exist? When the Mind Flayer infected them? Or were they still in there, screaming, feeling themselves melting from the outside? Are they still part of the Mind Flayer afterwards, shrieking from inside its mass? The implications of the body horror are more frightening than simply the violence or the gore. The idea that our bodies are fragile to the horrors of the cosmos is terrifying. That our flesh can be carved, grafted, ingested, or reshaped at the whims of a greater being. Imagine, if you will, that humanity is an illusion. All of us are merely the dreams of a slumbering god that will one day wake up and begin absorbing all of us back into itself. Perhaps that's what a gibbering mouther is. A writhing mass of human bodies all melted together like the gathering thoughts of this sleeping god. Each human face is twisted in agony. The monster's shrieks are human voices crying out, confused, frightened, begging for help. As the many hands thrash the air and the flesh remolds itself, the sound of grinding bones and tearing muscles underscores the cacophony of shrieking voices. If your character is reduced to 0 hit points by a gibbering mouther, you're absorbed into it. Your face becomes twisted among the others. Your screams join the chorus. The fear of a gibbering mouther isn't just being killed by it, it's a fear of becoming part of it, of being grafted into it, of remembering that you're just an illusion of a greater creature's slumbering unconsciousness. And it's those ideas that make body horror terrifying. Villagers are missing from the town of Lorik, and your investigation leads you into the caves beneath the village. Here, you uncover a horrifying truth. The village of Lorik, and everyone who lives here, has been dreamed into existence by an Aether god. The villagers are missing because every one of them is doomed to slowly transform into an aberrant horror, and the caves beneath the village are filled with gibbering mouthers and other horrors. In fact, you're not even sure if the people who live here were real in the first place. This adventure begins as a simple enough quest to find missing villagers. You might even suspect it was bandits or something like that when the adventure begins. But gradually, the nightmarish truth is revealed. And of course, gibbering mouthers aren't the only stat block you'll use for a diverse and interesting campaign, and that's where Monsters of Drakkenheim comes in. This 5e 2024 monster manual is virtually dedicated to aberrations and cosmic horror. To keep the sense of mystery for as long as possible in Lorik, maybe there are cultists as the first adversaries that appear to be kidnapping the locals. But from the cult's perspective, they're merely awakening their fellow villagers to the truth. And investigating further, you discover that some of the villagers and cultists have begun to transform into aberrations. Delirium dregs are a type of monster from Monsters of Drakkenheim and provide a wide variety of stat blocks that represent humanoids who have mutated into aberrations across a wide range of CR. Basic dregs are little more than zombies, but a bloated dreg has transformed to spray acid, and a chitinous dreg's bones have grown into natural armor and weapons. The innards of a gut-wrench dreg are used as a horrific flail, whilst higher in the CR scale is a hunter hulk, which can turn itself invisible, hunting with giant maws open across its body and lashing tendrils that extend out to try to grapple and restrain its foes. If you want to use the contamination rules from this book, your own characters can start to experience similar mutations as they become part of the Aether God's dream. And there are much more powerful aberrations in Monsters of Drakkenheim as well, like the Amalgamation, a kind of CR23 boss monster version of how we've been describing gibbering mouthers. A gargantuan mass of undulating flesh that hungers to grow more of itself, and it currently persists at the bottom of the catacombs beneath the village of Lorik. Instead of taking turns normally, the Amalgamation uses epic actions, which many of the most challenging stat blocks from Monsters of Drakkenheim also have. The Amalgamation has a wide list of actions that it can choose from to take, and it does so after each of the player characters' turns, giving it more actions in a round and making it an especially dangerous 5e encounter. The Amalgamation forces mutations on creatures for simply standing in its presence. It lashes out with tentacles, it can swallow creatures into its mass, and it can spawn other aberrations. These Pikenik Maunders are smaller masses of flesh and eyes, and they might slaw off the Amalgamation like mobile limbs, sent to absorb further biomass before returning to the amalgamation. The amalgamation also inflicts mind-breaking whispers, which cause huge amounts of psychic damage and can reduce you to incoherent babbling. But in my mind, it's not because the amalgamation turns you insane. It's because you've learned a terrifying truth, that you were always part of the Aether God's dreams as well. Your memories are an invention. And even if you escape today, your flesh and mind will inevitably be returned to this monster. If you want to check out Monsters of Dragonheim for yourself, you can get it on D&D Beyond right now by clicking that link up there. Or it's not too late to late pledge to the Kickstarter, which is linked in the description. More than just 200 plus monsters, the book also includes lots of GM tools and adventuring content, such as ready-to-run lairs for some of the monsters. And there's also monster hunting rules, which I obviously find really cool, like studying a foe's strengths and weaknesses when you fight it. Of course, aberrations are more than just amorphous body horrors. There's also creatures like the mind-altering aboleth. But the aboleth kind of needs an entire video of its own, so if you want to see that, drop a comment down below. These strange actions might sound like the ravings of a madman at the start of the adventure, but as your characters learn more, you discover that the villagers are just traumatized. The point is, making characters behave in zany ways because of cosmic insanity will not make your monsters more formidable. You should put effort into creating frightening but justifiable reasons why your insane characters behave in seemingly illogical ways. You know, people don't just join a cult unless they believe they're getting something out of it, which you can learn more about by watching this video here about how to make cults formidable adversaries in your D&D campaign. Or if you want a beholder as the aberration at the center of your campaign's mystery, check out this video on how to make them terrifying foes to encounter. Liking this video will also feed the algorithm, the world's one true aberrant horror, bringing more disciples into the cult of our YouTube channel.